A lot of people don't know the scale of what we've built. A lot of people don't know that we are currently the second largest restaurant chain in the country. Our original vision was to build the premier. We use the word premier, which means, first or number one or the leader in a segment, but to be the premier food services company in Port Harcourt. So it was actually that simple. We didn't have too much ambition. To be honest, the original idea was to start a business as a side gig. So it was never supposed to be what we see today, with almost 200 branches across the country. And according to the data, in terms of number of restaurants that we have, in terms of the revenues that we do, and number of customers we serve, we are currently the second largest restaurant chain in the country. And I know a lot of people don't know that. People get surprised whenever I say that. In fact, I see the surprise in your face as well. Two of the biggest challenges we faced starting off were had to do with people and financing. When we started this business 20 years ago, the industry as a whole was at its infancy. And one of the things I tell people is that I think even when you look at the banking sector, when we spoke to the banking sector or the banks to help finance our growth, they didn't take us seriously. The idea or the thought in the mind of the banks at that time was restaurants or fast food restaurants were no different from, say, for instance, a bar or any other entertainment type business. The second most challenging thing I think we faced was with finding people who, would want to work with us to help us, build the business.
It wasn't such a popular industry, so the major challenge is what I would say, employee preference. Okay, because a young graduate at the time, if I was coming out, I'll use myself as an example, coming out of school, which industry would I choose? There's oil and gas. There was telecoms at the time that just come out around that period, that era. We had MTN come out, Econet, preferred places to work. We had banking sector, which was also, as at that time, growing at a very fast speed. So it was a bit difficult for you to look at a smart, young graduate who's supposed to be aspiring to manage the business to say, hey, ignore these sectors and come in, and work in the food service restaurant.
So finding people who wanted to work in our industry was pretty tough. And of course, as as it follows, you will find that there are not a lot of places that even educate or train people to do what we do. So we literally have to grow our own human resources to meet our needs. And that was pretty challenging.
But what we have done in Sundry Foods is we have built a strong brand that today I can proudly say that it's a choice for a smart graduate coming out of school to decide to join Sundry Foods.
I started off as fresh from university, and I was excited to see an indigenous company with so much structure. As of that time, we started, I think we were about 8 years old. And then in the work environment, they were full of young professionals. So it was really interesting and exciting to work in that particular environment.
In 2014, 10 years ago, we put in structures to ensure that we have enough people, qualified people, to run the business.
At the point of induction, when an employee is coming into the company, the first training we give is on ethics and values, which are core values of Sundry Foods Limited. So we train people, we counsel people to be responsible, to be accountable. Without integrity, we will not be here today.
As an organization, we have a competency framework for all our strategic roles. What does this tell us? It helps us identify opportunities to train people so we know what their competencies are as of now, and then in line with our strategy to be a proactive company. So we look at where we want to be and ensure that at every point in time, our people have the competencies to deliver effectively on their present jobs, as well as position themselves to deliver very well in future roles.
All our area operations managers today, leading our QSR brands, Kilimanjaro, Kili Grill, and the Pizza Jumbo, all started as trainee restaurant managers, trainee bakery managers, trainee catering managers. They all started as fresh graduates, and we groomed them to become the business-minded leaders that they are today.
Today, Nigeria's supply chain is quite disorganized. And for instance, we want to serve you a dish of yam pottage, with the yam, where is it coming from? Is it yam grown in Makurdi? Is it yam grown in Ibadan? Is it yam grown in Jos? Is it yam grown in Abakaliki? Each of these yams have different characteristics in terms of texture, specification, so standard is the issue.
Our supply chain strategy for the organization is centered around 3 major factors: quality, reliability, and efficiency. These factors are very, very important to our processes because, like the company is an indigenous one. We have a lot of local menus, so we source for these ingredients locally and using our local suppliers. And we do this because by so doing, it helps to support the economy of the host community and the environment in general. And you are sure of getting these ingredients fresh while still maintaining their quality.
We try as much as possible to source the best material we can within what we have. If we don't have them here, we have to look outwards to get the best raw material.
We have our standard, we have our structure, and we have our controls. So what we'll do is consistent training to improve those processes, those systems and standards.
We have led that change, right? So led that change. We now have developed companies and partners to support us with premixes, with marinades, to do some bit of backward integration to support our operations. We've supported some of the biggest chicken farmers and have them stable over these 20 years. We've had our partners and we'll continue to develop the supply chain in Nigeria. There are a lot of underserved markets. Okay, so with a lot of underserved markets, we'll rather not cluster in one city like Lagos or Port Harcourt, where there are underserved markets in other several cities across the country. So for us, we've seen the market and we are chasing hard to make sure. Unfortunately for us, we have served these customers right. We are now having customers call us to say, why are you not in Yola? Come to Yola, come to Makurdi. We need you in that space. So it's almost like we've grown a huge fan base that are also pulling us to cities where we won't even have plans. So at every point in time, we're having to scale up, our expansion drive.
I think one of the biggest lessons that we learned, and anyone should learn, is that if you want to grow, you have to prepare for growth. Just like building a house, you build a foundation first, and everything then follows. And sometimes it takes time to build that foundation. And so for us, there were so many things we needed to do to prepare for growth. Standardization of our recipes and our standardization of our training systems for our people, and standardization of our equipment, finding the right equipment to work with that will give us the right quality over time. There's so many other things that we had to figure out, and I think we probably spent the first 10 years trying to figure all that out. So when we started to grow, it was more or less plug and play, because we knew what to do with every new restaurant that we needed to open.
What we have done is to document, processes and procedures, to prepare this meal, look at the steps. And of course, when you have reliable suppliers that we have developed and they're covering our entire stores in terms of support. Of course, we can't forget technology.
We built and I developed and launched the first of its kind WhatsApp chatbot. It's the first of this kind in the QSR space, the quick service industry space. And it's known as Lulu, our favorite food buddy.
That shows you how much we are open to technology and things that we're doing. But over the years, there's been changes in 20 years. Changes, for instance, in service style. We've been here, we've seen when the delivery business came up. We've seen when payment system changed from a cash-based system to today digital and electronic system. So we've seen a lot of changes, and what we have done is approach it in a dynamic environment to keep, modifying. So at every point in time, we are listening intentionally, and we are adapting. One of the biggest, I would say, charms that we have is the integrity of the leadership of the company. So we detect the integrity, professionalism, most of the things in our ethics and value, we hold them strong, we live them. And we see that our partners, those we provide services for, the banks that fund us, continuously see us grow and are happy to keep investing.
Now, we came together in 2010. That was the first time I met Ebele. And very important initial impression was very good in the sense that Ebele is not a typical entrepreneur, so he's not a big sales guy who tries to sell his company, but he's a very calm and determined entrepreneur and owner, and that is something which speaks very much for him. He had a very clear positioning, very clear story, and to some degree, if you look at how the firm has developed over the last 15 years or so, 16 years, it has not changed much in terms of the focus is very much having a very clear, good product and expanding and scaling it up. I think the other thing which is very important is really the execution, because to some degree, as you know, in Africa in general, and Nigeria specifically, there are lots of opportunities. And a lot of people have good plans, big plans, but to execute is really the most difficult part, especially in the dynamic environments that we have. So Sundry Foods over the last 15 years has been very consistent. If you look at its growth every year, 30-40%, plus a very sustainable and consistent margin. And that margin really has allowed the firm to reinvest the money and grow from there. It's a massive growth story. It's a very unique growth story. From what we see, we don't know anything like this that has happened, and Sundry Foods can easily claim to be the Afro food QSR chain of the continent. And there's, in terms of scale, they have done something quite spectacular. It's indigenous food. It really caters for the average person on the street. It's very proudly Nigerian in that regard, probably West African, and something which is quite unique.
I also like to use this opportunity to commend the duo of the founders, particularly Ebele, who is the founding CEO, and his partner, Nnamdi, who together have built a remarkable organization. It's a thing of joy to see two young people, focused, resilient, hardworking, dedicated to a vision, and what they've accomplished in 20 years is absolutely amazing. And not only what they've accomplished in 20 years, is the possibility of what they could do over the next 5, 10, 20 years.
One of the greatest enjoyments for me of being part of Sundry Foods is coming out to Nigeria every few months, seeing the progress, seeing the development, seeing the lovely big smiles of the Nigerian people, and working with Ebele and Nnamdi. Two great leaders, inspirational entrepreneurs who have developed a company from nothing. It's one of the largest food service businesses in Nigeria, with the potential to grow so much larger.
My most rewarding experience serving on this board comes from the fact that I serve with a team of very experienced and capable fellow directors who individually and collectively bring a lot towards making the company achieve and surpass its goals.
I would say working with Sundry Food is exciting, it is challenging, and uplifting. So, first of all, the job we do is a challenging job. From the experience, running restaurants is a bit of challenge, but Sundry Food makes it fun because it ties to their principle or value of continuous improvement. So working with Sundry Food, you see yourself improving. So not just on the job, but as an individual.
It has been a learning, it has been challenging, and it has been amazing because it has made me a better person. It has made me a better leader, a better mentor, a better coach to a lot of people. A lot of people look up to me right now, and it's all thanks to Sundry Foods.
So the journey so far has been unlearning the things I thought I knew before, drilling, challenging me to be more than what I thought I can be. People believing in me. I had the privilege of working with really sound and intelligent minds. People that saw more of what I had, or people that thought I could be more.
I bought into the dream of the managing director, Mr. Bele Noah, who wanted to fill the gap. There was a quality control gap in the food and services rendered. And so, in his words, he wanted to fill the shoes of then Mr. Biggs, the alien Mr. Biggs, that was the household then, as at 20 years ago. So I bought into that dream, and here we are, waxing stronger. Now we're about the foremost fast food company in Nigeria, and hopefully in a short time we'll be number one in Africa, and we'll have to explore the whole world.
I want to take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to Mr. Ebele Enoa and all the management and staff of Sundry Food. I want to say a very big thank you to them for the wonderful opportunity they've given me to do business with them, and also to learn from them, to also grow my business. They've helped me because now I have my own brands from following them. Had learned to be consistent. I've learned also to be organized and have an organized setting, because they are an organized setting and you can't work with them if you are not organized.
The journey has been very dynamic, and as we have seen in the last 15 years, we had many different political upheavals, we had many different economic crises, but the company has grown from, let's say, the 6 or 7 restaurants that they had to close to 200 restaurants today, and that is really incredible. I think that even today, a lot of people still don't fully comprehend what Sundry Foods and Kilimanjaro has done.
In the next 20 years, we certainly believe we will be the premier food services company in the country. And I say that because, we could actually achieve that in the next 1 or 2 years.
We are ready to take on the entire country. And as soon as that is done, we have to move out and seek the golden fleece outside the shores of Nigeria.
I see us expanding into other areas in the food value chain. Also, we are already a national brand, and I see an international expansion with a possible listing in the stock market.
When it comes to the fast food industry, every corner, every home should be able to have access to our brands, our Kilimanjaro brands, our Neighbors brand, our Pixie Jungle brands, and our Kilibio brands, of course.
It's one thing to achieve an objective, it's another thing to maintain that objective. And so that's why that objective continues to be important. We intend to, to take the leadership in the industry, to maintain that leadership in the industry, in the country, and to also start to, take a prime position, on the global stage. As we celebrate our 20th anniversary, first of all, I would like to thank everyone who has been with us on this journey over the last 20 years. When we look at people who have worked with us, some have come and some have gone. Some have come and some have stayed. Some are just joining us. For everyone who's been a part of this journey, we thank you. We thank you for your efforts. We thank you for your contribution. We could not have gotten here, without you.
A big thank you for being with us, being part of our story, being with us on this journey of 20 years. 20 years looks like 20 days ago. All right, all that are the gray hair that has accumulated.
And for our customers, I don't think the word thank you is a strong enough word to express our appreciation for patronizing us, for showing us, your love, basically, and showing us that with every day that you patronize our business, you are telling us that we're doing something right, and that continues to encourage us. And that gives us the motivation to continue to put in our best foot forward, to put a smile on your faces. And so in summary, thank you.